I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 186, How to Handle the Holidays. Hello, my lady. If you have a spouse that is struggling with a pornography problem, then you are in the right place. My name is Jolene Wynn, and I am a life coach, a member of the LDS faith, and the wife of a former porn addict. And in this podcast, I am going to teach you how to change the way that you are affected by your husband's choices. We can't change him, but what we can do is change the way that you respond when he makes the decisions that he does. I'm going to teach you how to manage your brain, how to process all of the emotions that seem so overwhelming to you so that you can finally live a life where you aren't living in fear of triggers and relapses. And by learning how to manage your mind and process your emotions, you are no longer going to be running on an emotional roller coaster, but you are going to start feeling so much more in control of your life no matter what your husband is doing. And I'm going to teach you all of that on this podcast. I can't wait to get started with you, and I'm so glad that you are here. I promise you, you're in the right place. Good morning, my ladies. How are you? It is December, and I am so happy. I love Christmas. It is my favorite time of year, and I am so happy that it's December. We have our Christmas lights up. We put them up a few weekends ago, and we have 3 trees in our house. We have the real one that has all the Christmas ornaments on it, and then we have the fake one that has, this is the one my sister has to come decorate for me because I am not good at this kind of stuff, but it's fancy and it has beautiful things on it. And then we have a teeny tiny one that doesn't really have anything on it. It's just lights, and I love it so much. And I'm very happy that it's Christmas. And speaking of Christmas, I want to give you guys a Christmas present. I want to send you one. So here's how you can get one. Anybody that joins my coaching program throughout the month of December, so all the way till January 1st, but up throughout the whole month of December, if you join my program, I'm going to send you a Christmas present in the mail. So not only will you get what you want for Christmas, which is coaching, but you will also get a bonus little present, and I promise you'll love it. And you can go ahead and just put it right under the Christmas tree. It'll be all ready for you to just put under the Christmas tree so that you have something to open on Christmas morning. And I was thinking about this because I was thinking, I wanted to ask you this question. Do you remember what you got for Christmas last year? I don't even remember. In fact, I'm pretty sure I haven't gotten a Christmas present for several years. And here's why. Because I'm in charge of getting all the gifts for my whole family, right? For all my kids and the grandparents and the parents and for the neighbor gifts and for your kids' teachers and all of the things that come at this time of year. And I always feel like, and then I end up buying Rob, okay, he really needs new socks. Like, let's get him some socks or whatever it is that he needs. And then I'm just like, you know what? I don't need anything. I am fine. And we don't have any money left over for me. Okay. So I always feel like I don't allow myself to give myself a Christmas present. And I was thinking about this and I thought, this is exactly the opposite of everything that I teach my ladies. This is the exact opposite of how we should be thinking. Because again, just like with our mental and emotional health, we have to put ourselves first in order to take care of everybody else. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't think about anybody else. You're just like, oh, well, I'm going to use all the money and forget my kids. However, I think it's important to allow yourself to feel worthy of deserving a Christmas gift. Does that make sense? I think too often we as women, especially as moms, we don't value ourselves enough to spend money on. And this has been coming up. My husband and I have been talking about me getting a new ring. It's coming up on our 15-year anniversary. And this has been something that we've been talking about getting me a new ring. And every time we look, I just think, this is too much money. This is so ridiculous. I already have a ring. There's no reason that I should get a new ring. My ring is fine. And all of the things and all of the logical reasons not to do this thing. But emotionally, I want a new ring. I want it to represent kind of a fresh start, right? Like, you guys know all the things that have happened. A fresh start, like a clean slate, just let's begin not over, because we're not going to forget everything that happened. And the reason we are able to move forward is because of what's happened, the foundation that we've now built. But I kind of want something to symbolize it. So emotionally, I want a new ring. And yet when I look at the price, my logic kicks in, and my logic says, this is too much money. This is not something that we need to be spending our money on. And we were even talking about it last night, and I did, and the same thing just happened over and over again. And my husband said, I feel like you decided not to get a ring. And I was like, well, I haven't fully decided, one way or the other. I want a ring. And yet I feel bad for wanting it. Are you guys with me? Does this make sense? I feel bad for wanting a ring. And I thought in that moment, I was like, wow, this is exactly what my ladies feel like so often. It's like, well, I want to join coaching. I want to spend this money, but it's so much money and I feel guilty and I feel like I shouldn't. And maybe I should just stop and it's okay and we're doing fine and I can make it through most days. And I don't need to be spending that much money, especially this time of year. And all of those thoughts, ladies, I want to offer that they are the wrong questions to be asking, the wrong thoughts to be listening to. Does it logically make sense to spend money on ourselves? No, we're always going to want to logic our way out of it. It's something you're going to have to decide intentionally. If you just allow your brain to run on autopilot and decide this for you, then it will always come up with all the reasons not to. In the same way that my brain is coming up with all the reasons not to get the ring. And sometimes you just have to make that decision yourself and say, you know what? I do deserve a Christmas gift. And here's what I really want. And if it's not coaching, it's not coaching. But if it is, great. And if it is coaching, not only can you sign up and get coaching for Christmas, but I will also send you a Christmas present in the mail so that you have something to unwrap on Christmas morning that is a symbol of what you are doing, of the moving forward that you have committed to. And that is something I would love for all of you. So if you want a Christmas gift from me, come join my program and I will send you a Christmas present in the mail so that you can put it under your tree and unwrap it on Christmas morning and just have it be a beautiful symbol of how you're moving forward. Okay? Let's keep talking about Christmas and the holidays. Okay? I want to talk about how to handle the holidays today. And this is kind of inspired not only by this time of year, but by a couple of different conversations that I've had with some friends over the last couple of days. Now, this is not necessarily specific to your husband. This is how to handle the stress of the season and how to handle, family dynamics and how to handle maybe some painful memories that come up. Okay, so all of this is going to just be tips on how to handle the holidays. You guys ready? Okay. Number 1, allow positive emotion. And this may seem super ridiculous. Might be like, what? Of course I'm going to allow positive emotion, but hear me out. One of the biggest mistakes that we make is that if we have a husband struggling with a pornography problem, is that we often don't allow ourselves to feel positively toward him. It can often even feel irresponsible to allow ourselves to relax, to have a good time, to feel positive emotion toward him, to play games, to all of those things, to actually enjoy ourselves. Our brain often resists this and says things like, no, remember that thing that's really serious and important? Remember how our husband's addicted to pornography? Like, we really need to pay attention to that and remember that, and that always needs to be on our brain and our focus. And what I want to offer is that's not true. What I want to offer is that you practice allowing positive emotion. Give yourself permission to feel positive emotion during this season. Always, but especially during this season, right? This time of year. So allow yourself to have positive feelings toward him, toward other people. Allow yourself to enjoy. Give yourself permission to enjoy things, okay? The next one is don't predictive text. Ladies, if you've been listening for a hot second, you know what I'm saying, okay? Your brain wants to predict what's going to happen. And here's what it's going to do. It's going to use your past in order to predict what's going to happen this time. It's like, oh, last Christmas was terrible because of XYZ, and I just know it's going to happen again. And then he's going to bring this up, or he's going to do this exact same thing, or he might be doing different things now, but all I'm going to be thinking about is how last year he blah, 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 right? Our brain wants to write the script. And if you allow your brain to write the script, it just works like predictive texting. It is just going to go ahead and type out what it thinks that you want. And if you let it type it out, if you let your brain write the script, then that's what it's going to follow. So if you say Christmas Eve is going to be terrible because all I'm going to be thinking about is how last Christmas Eve he relapsed, then that's exactly what's going to happen. So don't predictive text. The biggest thing that I can offer is this question that you, or this phrase rather, is to just say, I have no idea what's going to happen, and I'm here for all of it. That's it. Ladies, if you could actually predict the future, you would be a bajillionaire, okay? You would predict the stock market, you would have predicted COVID, and I would have to have words with you, and you would have been able to predict that your husband was addicted to stuff, and all of the things. You can't actually predict the future. And good news, you don't need to, okay? So just watch your brain. Notice when it wants to say things like, and this is going to be so awful, and I hate this Christmas party because it always blah, 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 or whatever it is, okay? So just notice when your brain wants to do predictive texting, and it always wants to use your past in order to predict the future. Ladies, your past is irrelevant, okay? Just because it happened before, I don't even care if it happened 50 times before, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen again, okay? Let your past stay in your past, and just be open to the idea that you don't know what's going to happen, but be open for all of it, okay? My next piece of advice is don't make yourself the sacrificial lamb in order to prove your story. Okay, here's what I mean. A lot of times when we get into family gatherings, we have these stories about our role in the family gathering or how family gatherings always go, okay? So maybe, for example, I've heard this before, is you always are the one in the family gathering who does all of the cooking. You're like, oh, I hate getting together with my family because when I'm with my family, everyone just assumes that I'm going to cook every meal. And I hate that. I don't want to cook every meal. And yet you get together anyway. And then you cook every meal. And everyone expects you to cook every meal. And they kind of act like you're going to cook every meal. But here's what happens is that I see so many of you do, and I've done this before too, is that you want to be the sacrificial lamb for your story. So then even if someone says, well, hey, what can I help with? Then in order to keep your story about how you're the only one and nobody ever helps, is you'll just say, no, I've got it. I'm totally good. You go sit on the couch and enjoy. It's fine. And so even though that's not true, even though you want someone to help, even though you're tired of being the only one that does it, what you'll do is you'll make yourself the sacrificial lamb in order to keep your story of how you're the only one ever that cooks and no one ever helps. Does this make sense? You guys with me? We do this with our husbands all the time. It's like my husband never does the dishes. He never helps around the house or whatever. And then even if he offers, we're like, no, it's fine. I've got it. Even though it's not fine and we want him to help, we'll say, no, it's fine. And then we'll be pissed that, he never helps, right? You guys with me? So just be onto your brain when it wants to say things like that. Or, man, why am I always the one that has to organize the neighborhood block party, right, for Christmas? Why am I always the one that has to do this? And then even if someone offers, they're like, no, it's okay. I'm fine. I got it. You guys with me? Does this make sense? So just watch out for your brain. Be willing to let go of your story. And if you are, then you might be able to actually move things in a different direction, okay? My next piece of advice is to allow people to be who they are. Again, most of the time we cause ourselves grief unnecessarily when we go into a situation, especially the holidays, expecting people to be different, okay? We show up and we want other people to be different. What if we just allowed them to be who they are? What if we were just okay with however they showed up? Because how they show up is not in our control. So we can either be upset about it or we can actually just let it go. Does this make sense? What if you just allowed your sister-in-law to be a little high maintenance? Totally fine. What if you just allowed your mom to be a little emotional every time you leave the room? What if you just allowed your kids to be a little grumpy on Christmas Eve or whatever it is? What if you just allowed your husband to be a little snarky with his brothers, right? What if you just allowed people to be who they are and stop expecting them to show up differently? When we expect other people to show up differently than who they are, it's really just us trying to control everyone around us so that we don't have to feel the way that we feel when that happens. We don't want to feel how we feel when the mother-in-law says blah, blah, blah. It makes us feel guilty, it makes us feel upset, and we don't want that. And so instead of just allowing ourselves to feel our feelings, what we want to do is we want everyone else to change so that we don't have to. Which, if I knew how to do that, ladies, I would teach you, but I do not. So what I want to offer instead is that we just let other people be who they are and stop coming in with the expectation that they should change, okay? The other thing that I want to offer is that for the holidays, decide what you want to do and then allow others to feel however they feel about it. Here's what I mean by that. Around the holidays, especially when you have family, you might feel obligated to attend so many things, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. What I want to offer is that you actually sit down and say, okay, what in this season do we actually want to do? What do we not want to do? And then back yourself up. Because even if you say, you know what, Mom, we are not coming for Christmas Eve, but we'll come on Christmas morning. And then you allow your mom to just be a little upset and sad that you're not coming on Christmas Eve. And it's totally fine. And you can validate her feelings even. Whoever it is in your life, right? We're using this example. But let's say you say, you know what, Mom, we're not coming over Christmas Eve. What we want to do is just spend that with our little family. But we will come over Christmas morning after we do presents at our house. Maybe we'll come over after lunch. And your mom is sad because you've always come over for Christmas Eve, right? And she wants to see you. And you might be tempted to think, oh, she's just trying to manipulate me into changing my mind. Or we can just say, you know what? Of course she's sad. Let me validate her feelings. Just say, you know what, Mom? I know you're sad. And that's okay. We know that that means that you love us and you just want to spend more time with us. This isn't about you. This is just about us. This is what we've decided for our little family this year. And there may be some reasons that we are choosing this that we're not going to share with you. But this is what we've decided and we're okay with it. And it's totally okay that you're sad and upset. We understand that. But this is what we're going to choose. Does that make sense? You decide ahead of time what you want to do, not just out of obligation, but okay, what is it that we actually want to do? Back yourself up on it, and then allow other people to feel however they feel when you make that decision. Does this make sense? You guys with me? And it's okay to validate other people's feelings. This was my next point, is a lot of times around the holidays, one of the things that we want to do is when other people have emotions is we get really defensive. And what I want to offer instead of getting defensive is you just find the beauty in their emotion and just validate it. Say like, oh, it's totally understandable that you're upset right now. Totally understandable that you're sad. It's okay. It doesn't make me, I don't have to change my mind to make you feel better. We're just going to allow that person to feel whatever it is that they're feeling and also be okay with it. And also you can validate and be like, you know what? Just like I said, it's totally understandable that you're sad. Of course they're sad, ladies. They want to spend time with you because you're awesome. So of course they're going to be sad. No problem. Okay, that doesn't mean you have to change your mind. And that's typically what I see is you'll say, okay, here, I want to do this. It's kind of like setting boundaries, right? It's like, all right, we want our holiday season to go like this. These are the boundaries that we're going to set up of when this person can call and when this person can come over and when we're going over there. But then the other person has emotions about it. And then we end up changing our minds because we don't want the other person to be upset. We can just allow the other person to feel whatever it is they're feeling. Their emotions are not a problem. Okay? My next thought is that it's okay to break tradition. And this might be really triggering for some of you and your families, okay? Tradition is okay to break. It is okay to not do something that no longer works for your family. And I'll give you guys an example. My husband's family, growing up, would always wake up at 6 a.m. to have Christmas morning. And they would set their alarms and they would all get up at 6 a.m. And that's what they did. So I came into the family and we would all set our alarms and get up at 6 a.m. to have Christmas morning. And that was totally fine until everybody started having kids. And then all of a sudden, some of those parents were like, well, maybe we don't want to wake the kids up at 6 a.m. because they will be supremely grumpy. And so they shifted a little bit of the tradition, okay? So no longer does everybody have to wake their kids up at 6 a.m. in order to come have Christmas. If it's no longer working for you, it's okay to let it go, okay? If it is no longer fun to go to the town Christmas parade, then don't go to the town Christmas parade. If it is no longer enjoyable or functional or whatever for you to keep doing that Christmas tradition that you've always done, it's okay to let it go. It's okay to keep all of the beautiful memories that you have of doing it, but also okay to start a new one. Start a new tradition that works better for you. Maybe instead of getting up at 6 a.m., maybe you stay up until midnight. I don't know. Whatever it is. It's just you can give yourself permission to change what's no longer working for you and start something different and better, okay? Another good example that I have of this is when you start getting married, right? And you start having kids and you start doing your own Christmas rather than traveling to your parents for Christmas, right? So I remember when we first got married, we would trade off. We would always trade off Christmases, like my family Christmas and then his family Christmas. And then when we started having kids, it became much harder to travel around Christmas time. You have a lot of stuff, you have a lot of baggage, now we have jobs. And so traveling isn't as easy around Christmas time because it doesn't have any time off work, and it's hard to send presents and to travel on an airplane with, you have to bring an empty suitcase and hope you can bring it all back. It is okay to then, and then you transition to having your own Christmas with your own little family. And that's a tradition that shifts, right? Based on the needs of your family. So don't be afraid to break tradition and start a new one, okay? And then the last tip that I have is to make your life easier. And the best question that I came up with that you can ask yourself is, what would make this season easier and more enjoyable? And even if you just ask yourself that question every single day for the rest of the holiday season, I think it will help you so much. What would make this easier and more enjoyable? Okay, so can I buy cookies instead of make them all by hand this year, right? You remember how all of your neighbors and family, friends, they all everybody gives gifts to each other, and everybody's delivering homemade cookies and their favorite holiday treat, right? I never do that. Okay, what I do is I buy wrapping paper, and that is the gift. I buy wrapping paper and ribbon and I give it out as our gift because I don't want to spend 400 hours in the kitchen baking, because I don't enjoy that, and then having to deliver it to all of my neighbors. I would rather go buy wrapping paper and deliver it so that they can use it and I don't have to cook, okay? That makes it so much easier and more enjoyable, and that's what I do. That's what I choose to do, and I love it. I'm so happy about it. That's what has made my life easier and more enjoyable, and I wanna offer that to you, okay? Now, that might mean saying no to the town parade or no to the theater Christmas get together. Or it might mean saying yes to certain things and no to certain other things. Okay, what would make this season easier and more enjoyable? Because ladies, I want you to enjoy your holiday season. And if it's entirely up to you whether or not you enjoy it. And yes, that's based on your thoughts and feelings, but there are some circumstances that we can shift in order to make that easier. We don't always just have to work on our thoughts. We can actually clear the schedule, focus on the things that we really want to focus on, and then make those a priority and let some things go. You do not have to say yes to every invitation that you get this Christmas season, okay? So think about what would make this more enjoyable, okay? What would make it more enjoyable? Would it be more enjoyable if I actually got what I wanted for Christmas? Would it make it more enjoyable if I said no to my neighbor who wants to join us on Christmas Eve? Ask yourself that question. What would make this easier and what would make this more enjoyable? Because ladies, you deserve to have an enjoyable holiday season. Now, I know that the holidays can be a little triggering for some of you, and that is okay. I also want you guys to give yourself permission to have moments that aren't full of joy and peace. That is okay. It's all right to have a bad day, even during the holiday season. It's all right to feel negative emotion. It's going to be 50-50 either way. But you can also give yourself permission to enjoy it. You can give yourself permission to feel the joy, to feel the excitement of this holiday season, and you deserve it. All right? I love you ladies so much, and I'll see you guys next week. Take care. All right, ladies, it's time to rise up and take charge of your healing, and I have the best way for you to do it. I have created a lifetime access coaching program that I have designed specifically for you and exactly what you're going through right now. This is where I help you develop a personal mastery of all the tools that you're learning here on the podcast in order for you to create a permanent change. Go to my website, jolenewind.com. You will find all the information there, and you can sign up today, and we will start going forward. I can't wait to see you there.